Am I in?
Okay. Hey, it says I'm live. So, hey, I know there's people in here. Welcome to Hair Metal Chaos. My name is the Guru, and we got Rachelle coming here in a second. But first, before I get into it, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has helped promote this thing. Stephanie Mandel, Stevie's girlfriend, Patrick, and all the guys from the Roundtable crew who are essentially my boyfriends, and my good buddy Annie Animations, who created the theme music and the theme video. All of you guys are awesome. So then I'm going to say this, and we're going to get rolling. There is no plan for tonight. Like, we really have no clue how this thing is going to go. So if you remember that Van Halen album, Live Without a Net, that's us tonight. So here's kind of my motto for the show. Come for the hair metal, stay for the chaos. And the chaos begins right after this.
Hair Metal Chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
And I cut off Charlie there. We are here, Stevie, Rachelle from Tuff and Metal Sludge. Our first live performance. Holy shit. Welcome to the show.
Wow. Anthony, good seeing you. And I got to say right off the bat, last night was kind of a impromptu test run.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. We've been trying this for the last week, just me and Anthony. And then at some point over the weekend, we did it a couple times and had a hidden link that a couple of our close friends kind of looked at us and said, "You guys look like idiots." And we said, "We know." And then last night we were like trying to do a couple other things and working out bugs, but we just said, let's let it rip public. And we did. We were on for what was it, like 45 minutes.
Yep.
And at some point we had 150, 160, 70 people. And it was a lot of fun. So I guess here we are. Thanks a lot for everybody, to everybody for coming out.
Yeah. Everybody that showed up to the test run last night, like it was shit. It's chaos. But we were just trying to figure out some of the technology and some of the things we wanted to figure out. Said, well, you got to actually be public and live. So Stevie and I were like, hey, we'll just go on for a minute or two. Nobody will know. And we'll figure this thing out, because we had Jones and Stephanie, and we're like, we'll just test this and then we'll be off. And before you knew it, there was like 150 people watching. So we stayed on and answered some questions. So already like to have 150 people show up for something that wasn't even supposed to happen last night was epic. So I have been pumped all day waiting for this. So it's the first show. Like obviously you're a performer. You aren't nervous, but I'll be honest, before we were starting, I'm like, fuck, here we go. Heart's beating. So I was ready to roll though.
Show everybody your shirt.
Okay, so I wore this. This is an actual legit Sebastian Bach 1998 tour, because if we ever are needing content tonight, I thought Stevie could fill us in on holy shit on anything new in the Sebastian Bach cruise. If you've heard anything from him since then.
Haven't heard anything, but I'm pretty sure I went to that show when he did. That was his first. Was that his first official tour as a solo artist? I think he played at the Whiskey A Go Go, and I was outside and he was standing out there, and I talked to him for a minute. That was the first time I had seen him since probably 91 or 92, when we were both still on Atlantic. And it was definitely the first time I saw him after he was no longer a member of Skid Row. But that was at the Whiskey when he went solo.
But when you guys started Sludge, like, he was all over, like, oh, this is awesome. And all like he was emailing you guys, right?
He was the first quote unquote rock star that emailed us. And I think if you look at the History of Metal Sludge article that's still on the site, I think it was like September 6th, and we started September 1st. So it was within a week. He was the first celebrity rocker that sent us an email and said, "Hey, I really like your site. You guys have big balls or whatever. I can dig it." And so he was essentially, I guess, a fan for whatever it's worth for the first few months. But then at some point, something happened. He did a show somewhere. It was in the winter. It was in Canada. Canada. I said it like a Canadian, actually, a little bit there. Minnesota. And
Okay.
what happened is he was getting a ride, and if I remember this correctly, and this is almost 30 years ago, he was in a limousine and it broke down. So he had to walk a few blocks to the show, and it was like a lot of snow. And he used to wear those white Capizio kind of shoes. And I remember
Right.
somebody making a post in like one of our forums about him walking, like, he walks, with his big hunchback. And at some point they were making fun of him. So we kind of made fun of him as well. And that was the beginning of Sludge kind of busting Sebastian's ball. So what do we got here? This is from Brian Linville. What's up, Brian? Thanks, Stevie ordered What Comes Around Goes Around. He sent a demo CD, both signed. Thank you. Didn't have to do that, but I did. Thank you, Brian.
That's cool. And shit. I don't mean to, but Patrick, thank you.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Patrick, who does so much behind the scenes. And I told Patrick today, if there ever comes a time where Stevie has to like have some sort of surgery or reverse his transgenderness, I'm just kidding, Stevie. Patrick might have to step in. So Patrick, thank you. That's wow. So yeah, there's a lot of people here. Brian, thank you. Let me point out, because this isn't about money at all, but I want to point out when people do, Chris Berglaw, who used to run a channel called Rock Resurgence Radio, says, Bergie here, can't join for live, catch up later. Good luck. Just want to say have a great show. I know you will, Guru. You deserve all the success. Stevie, thanks for the free goodies in my recent orders. So Bergie, man, that is awesome.
So I got a question. Now I'm in the stream, obviously, as a co-host, and I have a section that says comments. Are those the same comments that are in the YouTube?
Yes.
They are.
They are showing up on the YouTube live.
I'm going to flip over to why does it look like, see, the comments look a little different here. Actually, maybe they're not feeding as quickly in the stream that I have here.
Right. 88 Vandal is here. Shit. There's so many, man. Like we were doing this last night, and like I told Stevie, I said it's kind of hard to we're looking at each other, but it's hard not to focus on the comments because we absolutely I think we both agree we want this to be interactive. We want people to ask questions. We're going to try to catch up with the comments so we can answer some of your questions. Obviously, we won't be able to answer them all, but these people that are doing these super chats, wow, thank you. Here's another one, and I'll try to get it. But Sheldon, man, wow.
Oh, Sheldon Bergenheimer. I know Sheldon.
Oh,
matter
okay.
of fact, I'm pretty sure Sheldon, you're in Winnemucca, right? Is that in Utah? Winnemucca? And Sheldon actually promoted a show that we did way, way back, like 1990, so 30 years ago. And I remember Sheldon wanted us to sign everything, but he also had baseballs. He was a baseball fan, and he collected signed baseballs, and he had some crazy collection of rock stars that signed all his baseballs. So I don't know. Let's wait for Sheldon to make a comment. I'm curious. You are the guy that did the baseballs, and if so, how many baseballs did you have signed by different rockers? I remember it was a lot because I think he had all of us sign one. And then I was going to ask you this, Anthony.
Yeah.
So you've been doing you've been doing YouTube, your podcast, since 2023. So about 3 years, right?
In 3 weeks, it's going to be my 3-year anniversary. My first video came out June 6th of 23.
And you've done hundreds of videos.
Like 550?
Over 500, which is interviews, reviews, roundtables with your guys. You've never done a live.
No, and
So this is
people
it.
are my first live. People are always like, dude, you should do lives. And I'll be honest, the reason I never did is because I suck at technology.
Right.
Like anybody who watches my videos know that like my lighting sucks. I'll mess things up in the editing. So when we were doing this, like I was sitting watching YouTube videos about StreamYard.
Right.
And so that's what we're hosting this on and trying to figure out how to include clips. By the way, well, first I want to acknowledge this, Stevie. This DJ Inferno says Stevie is a legend for sending extra when ordering things from him. Hopefully Stevie gets to come to Australia soon after the silverback debacle. I've had so many people who message me and they're like, dude, I ordered some, they know Stevie and I are buddies. I ordered some stuff from Stevie and I got like an extra CD or something of this. So anyway, that is kick ass that you always do that. So
I've always tried to be hands-on with the fans. And not just through the mail order, but at the shows. As people know, I'm at the merch table. I don't charge for meet and greets. Again, nothing against the bands who do. I obviously some of the guys are worthy of it. If you're playing in front of 1,000 people, you can't come out and meet everybody. Even if you're playing in front of 300 or 400 people, you can't like realistically spend even say 2 minutes with every person. Like if a fan shows up and there's 300 and everybody gets 2 minutes, well, you have to come up with 60 or 600 minutes of time, and that's virtually impossible when you play a show and then it's 10:30, 11, midnight. You got 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour or two, and you got to try to give everybody a few seconds and sign stuff and say hi and take photos. But I try to do that as much as I can through social media at the shows, and then when they order stuff, make sure if they want it signed, add a few freebies, etc.
Even on like YouTube, like I'm just a YouTube guy, I'm just a fan guy, but like you feel bad when people write and ask you a question, and you're like, sometimes your videos get hundreds of comments, and you're like, I could take all day to try to respond to stuff. Anyway, so but I just always try to make sure people know, look, I appreciate it more than I can even tell you that people give a shit what I think or what I post on YouTube. Like it still baffles me. So here's a Jordan Skull, $20 says if it's Skull that he's probably a Vikings fan. But he says, I find it depressing that Axel can't sing anymore. I've noticed most frontmen beyond 55, 60 can't do it anymore. Stevie is 60, so maybe he can talk a little bit about what it's like singing a full concert. But it says at least Axel doesn't lip sync like Paul Stanley. Anyway, Stevie, what's it like for you singing at 60?
I got to say this. I really believe that whether you're a trained singer or not, whether you practice or not, it also has something to do with genetics. It has to, I mean, when your body gets to a certain age, I mean, we were talking about Greg Steele the other day. You just interviewed Greg Steele from Faster Pussycat. If anybody saw the interview, you'll know what we're talking about. And if you haven't, go on Anthony's channel. It was earlier this week. Greg Steele is the original lead guitarist of Faster Pussycat. And Greg's at least my age or maybe a little older. He looks fucking ridiculous. I mean, he looks like Rob Lowe in 1985, Yes. He does not look like a 62-year-old man, I mean, and so I think the same applies with your voice, whether you're singing or not. Some guys can still hit the notes, but as you get older, I think things start to deteriorate. You start to fall apart. And also, singing Axl level vocals, Guns N' Roses is like AC/DC. That's a higher range. There's a lot of grit in there.
Yes.
Axl's mid-60s. He's been doing it for 45 years. Of course, you got a guy like Nate who sings for Firehouse now, or Brett who sings with Great White. Both those guys can sing their asses off, but they're also in their mid-late 20s, early 30s. And I'm sure they'll be singing great in 20 or 30 years. But when you take a guy and you put 40 or 50 years of tread on the of wear and tear on the tires, the tread might start to thin out a little bit.
And you were never a smoker, a drinker, and a lot of our heroes were hitting the coke and the booze and the groupies. Well, you were hitting the groupies too, but anyway, like you took care of yourself.
I was forced. Full disclosure, I was forced.
That's right. Hey, look, the guys that advertise on Metal Sludge. So I'll just the cocks. It's like they're and Stevie shared this article, and I'm like, who are the cocks? And like the picture is like these dudes making out. So I'm like, hey, I'm straight. I was confused one time in college for about 15 seconds, but I went and checked it out, and that music was pretty kick ass. So anyway,
they got some great. It's funny. I know Chad, the guitarist. I don't know the other guys, but at some point they had been sending me, messages for a while. And they're like, "Hey, we want to get on Sludge." At some point they were interested to advertise. We did a little package deal. And then they sent me some of the videos and some of the songs, and it was very poppy, punky, fun, but a very there's a twist to it. You got to have an open mind. But in today's world, there's these crazy tribute bands too. That's obviously a hot topic recently with what Dee Schneider said. And but like AC/DC, they're like, I guess, the world's only all gay tribute to AC/DC. There's anybody out there maybe remember seeing Nudist Priest? They were a Judas Priest tribute, and I'm pretty sure they performed naked where they could, or maybe they just wore a little G-string or something. But
hey, if we start lacking in viewers, we're gonna have to start doing that too.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a sorry to interrupt, but the greatest band name ever, a all-male gay go-go's tribute band called We Got the Meat. Anyway,
excellent.
Yeah,
I think they were going to say they were called the Gay Gays. That would have been a good name.
Hey, Stephanie Mandel is here. Stevie could probably talk about
$10.
$10. Thanks, Stephanie. That's Stevie's girlfriend, if anybody out there doesn't know.
Yeah. You've seen the photo of me with her on Facebook where I have a shirt that says The Boss, and then her shirt says The Real Boss. So, yeah. But I will say this, full disclosure, she does cook me meals every time I go over there, but I also do the dishes afterwards. So
there you go. Good for you. Good for you. Well, shit. Oh, did Tuff ever? I'm just looking through these.
What do we got for questions? Let's take some questions from the peanut gallery.
Here's one.
Let's see what we got here. Did Tuff ever play Texas? Okay, simply put, the first time Tuff ever played Texas was in January of 1990. We played Austin at the Back Room. We played San Antonio. We played Houston. We played El Paso. And our first time in Texas, we hung out with and played with Pariah. And for anybody that's a diehard fan, they know Sims obviously lost his life back in the day. Sims was the sweetest guy. The band was cool. They were like a baby Guns N' Roses or a baby Dangerous Toys. So when we'd play, Jason McMasters would come down to the shows, or we played, I think we played one show with them. One time we played in speaking of the tribute band debacle with Dee Schneider, Tuff opened up for Widowmaker on a series of shows all through Texas, like Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio. Love Texas. So yeah, we played Texas many times.
Sims Ellison, who, like you said, he tragically took his own life, but he was dating Renee Zellweger.
Correct.
Before she busted to fame in that movie Jerry
Before
Maguire.
She became super famous. Correct.
So I wanted to, because we were talking about singers who get older. You kind of talked about your voice. So we got a little bit of pushback on a video that Patrick and I that RVK and I did after Motley played on American Idol. And we said, like, hey, it wasn't bad for Vince, but we also said we have come to expect that it's not going to be very good. A lot of people agree with us, and we also said, hey, we're big Motley fans, and it, like, I don't feel joy in pointing out when a singer can't do it like they used to. And we all understand aging, but a lot of people were saying, hey, you guys should just be glad that they're still out there doing it. Guys like Vince, guys like Don Dawkins. So I would like to hear your, like, what do you think of fans? Is it okay for us to call out performances when it doesn't meet what we might expect?
Well, there's different ways to look at this, and again, you talk about guys losing their voice or their abilities. The singer, and I used to say this all the time, even when we rehearsed, like our bass player, Todd Chase. Todd always wanted everything super loud, and he'd be playing with 2 Ampeg 810 cabinets, 16 speakers. George has got, a couple 2 or 4 stacks, anywhere from 4 to 8 to 12 to 16 speakers. Michael's got this drum set. He's hitting cymbals and I've got a couple of monitors that only have a couple speakers in them. And at some point, you can turn the volume up on an amplifier and your fingers. Yeah, you can have a callus or, a drummer can get a cut on his finger, but your vocal cords are way more sensitive. If you screw up your voice, you can't put a new one on. If you break a guitar string, you can switch it. You break a drumstick, you throw it away and you grab another one. But singers, when I watched that, honestly, I expected more technology. So when Vince started singing Home Sweet Home, the first thing I thought is he's actually singing that.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that is because it wasn't very good.
Right.
It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the greatest. And I thought, okay, well, that's an honest approach there, where he started to sing a couple of those lines. His voice sounded a little shaky. Maybe they adjusted some of the melody. And he also, maybe the notes were a little, he didn't hold some notes out. And then when it kind of got to a little bit of a harder part, was it Carrie Underwood?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So Carrie took the harder line.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I thought, hey, respectable that they came out and did it like that. Like if he would have came out and started singing it and it sounded really good, or, like the record with a little bit of fluctuation there, I would have been like, okay, some trickery's going on. But the fact that it was a little sketchy and a little unstable, it was authentic. And when people, you can't win with fans sometimes.
No.
You can't, it's either you do or you don't. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So if they would have came out there and Vince sounded perfect, they would have been like, oh yeah, he's, it's all sampled. It's all AI. Yeah. It's all this. So then he comes out and he sings it. His voice is a little sketchy, a little rough. He fucking sucks. He's fucking, hang it up, go away. And again, you can't always win. You can't please everybody.
Well, I've always told people like what my goal on this channel was to treat it like how me and my buddies used to sit around and talk about music. Like if you remember when Duff and Slash went up at whatever that video award was, and they were drunk and swearing, the next day at school or wherever, we would have been like, holy fuck, did you see what Duff and Slash did? Those guys are crazy. When Poison played the music awards and they were playing the wrong song,
and CeCe's guitar cord came unplugged.
And CeCe, the next day we were like, holy shit, did you see the Poison fiasco? Well, when we come on here and we talk about Motley Crue on American Idol, it's like some people, and I'm not, most people are awesome in the comments, but some people are like, well, you shouldn't say that. What? We shouldn't be honest?
Right.
We should be like, no, it was amazing. Like, you and I are both football fans. When our favorite players get to the end of their career and they went from gaining 1,000 yards to 100 yards, we didn't go, hey, no, it's fine. Keep signing him. You started to go, geez, he's kind of losing it. We're just talking like fans is what I've always said.
Yeah, and the thing is, using the football comparison, it's like we watch someone like Brett Favre, being a Packer fan, obviously he's got X amount of years, went to a couple Super Bowls, he won one, then they bring in Aaron, and then slowly but surely, they phase Brett out, and bring in Aaron. And then they phased out Aaron and they brought in Jordan Love. You know, we have to look at it this way. You know, there's that saying, you know, oh, all the armchair quarterbacks, the Monday morning quarterback. Hey, they should have done this. They should have done that. They should have run up the middle. They should have passed more. There was too many long passes, not enough blocking. You know, in the heat of the moment, if we could even really come to put ourselves in those shoes, what an NFL quarterback is 315 hot. He steps back. When you see some of the stats, most of them have less than 3 seconds to get rid of that ball. Think about that. 1,000, 2,000. There's already a 320-pound guy on top of you. And you're supposed to complete a pass over there. And then you got these guys that are, you know, the quarterbacks themselves. You look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He's 6'2". He looks, Steph Curry. He's 6'3" on the Golden State Warriors. He looks like a little kid out there. And he's literally this tall, you know? So the timing, it's like a band being on stage. Why does he sound like that? Oh, he sounds like shit. We really don't know that maybe this is the 7th show in 9 days.
Yeah.
You know, the guy might have had, battling a cold or a flu 3 days ago. Just the wear and tear. You really don't know what's always going on, you know, in someone else's mind or walking a mile in their shoes. And that's like my article I wrote with the recent situation that happened between me and Sebastian on the cruise. And then I wrote my article about Sebastian became very famous at literally like 21 years of age, you know, and within a couple of years, he's on the cover of Rolling Stone. They sell millions of records. That attention on an individual, whether it was a Britney Spears or a Leif Garrett or anybody at that young age to really have success, Justin Bieber, Michael Jackson, you know, your life is just not the same anymore. But my point with Sebastian is that you've had 40 years to adjust, you know, acting crazy in your 20s or maybe into your 30s. But at some point when you get married and you have kids and you turn 40 or 50, time to put it together. And I think
that's why you and I are glad that we never got rich and famous at a young age, because we just would have been pretentious assholes. So and I wanted your comment about quarterbacks. Well, that kind of reminded me of my sex life in my 20s. Because basically I had 3 seconds to make a decision, if you know what I'm saying. Drummer Boy Jones here. Hey, wow, shit. Man, he does all this work for the channel and comes on, and then look, he just donated a huge wow. But he says, I personally think that Fist First is a classic record. I think it is better than the debut. Wow. Better Off Dead is so powerful, and would like to know any stories about that song. I'd be interested in hearing that too.
Well, I will tell you this. For starters, that whole record was done on not the whole record. Most of that record was done on Atlantic Records budget. They put us in the studio. They gave us money to record. We did. And of course, things are a little darker. Rattle My Bones, Electric Church, God Bless This Mess, and Dogs We Trust, Better Off Dead. The whole thing is a little bit more progressed, darker, edgy, harder, a little bit of evil. I mean, we went from Forever Yours, I Hate Kissing You Goodbye, you know, All New Generation, you know, some of that happier stuff. But at some point, you know, I felt like it was a natural move for us. At some point, I felt like Better Off Dead could have been on the radio with an Allison next to Alice in Chains or Ozzy.
Were you worried that people were gonna say that? And I think I asked you this in the interview, but like, oh, they've gone grunge. Was that a concern?
You know, in the moment, no. You know, in looking back, you know, I see there's pictures of us where in 1989 and 90, we're wearing tight leather pants and cowboy boots and my hair is all bleached and, you know, and then 3 years later, you know, it's no longer bleaching my hair. And now I'm wearing, you know, cutoffs and, you know, high top Converse, or, you know, our guitarist is wearing combat boots instead of cowboy boots, but everybody evolved. You know, everyone's seen there's videos of Alice in Chains on YouTube and they look like Poison. You know, Lane Staley has the same hair as Stacey DeVille. It's literally bleached and it's up to here. You know,
of course.
There's old pictures of Slayer with like animal print and, you know, scarves on their arm. And, you know, maybe they didn't look like Poison, or Whitesnake, but at some point even Slayer had, you know, the colored bandanas and the zebra stripe, you know, shirt, or some stuff that looked like they might have bought it at Hot Topic, you know, and that's Slayer. But it was 1983. You know, they were in the early stages. They're young guys, probably 18, 19 years old, and at some point you're evolving,
right?
Which I think Tuff did that. By the Fist First record, the band had already been together for 5 years with me. By the time we recorded that. And Todd and George, you know, and Michael were even together for a year and a half, 2 years before I was around. So we were, you know, we were still kind of growing as players and musicians, you know.
Hey, I just want to point out there is a legitimate music celebrity in the comments. Dennis Churchill Dries from your label mates Tattoo Rodeo. And just put out his awesome new solo album, Crazy Is This Life. Dennis Churchill Dries is in the comments. Thanks for coming, man.
I will say this. Now I'm looking at the YouTube link. I've got it muted, but we've got over 300 people watching.
Oh, Jesus.
318. Let's see how high we can get. I think everybody should tell 2 or 3 friends, take the link, text, email, send it to 2 or 3 friends. Let's see if we can get it over 400 or 500. That'd be amazing. I mean, we really didn't know what to expect by doing this. Yeah. And I got to say, it's, you know, my eyesight sucks. That's why I keep going like this, because I'm trying to look at the video, the comments. But God, there's so many things in here. It's going so fast. Oh, is that Gavin Evick? That's Pete's kid, right? What's up, Gavin? Does anybody know who Pete Evick is? Neither do I.
I just played some Gavin Evick last Saturday on Hair Metal Mansion. Played one of
Pete's kid, singles. Gavin. You know, I gotta admit, he put out a couple songs in the last few years that Pete sent to me, and then, you know, we ran it on Sludge, and a couple of those songs were great, very hooky. And then I saw Gavin did a couple of videos that Pete did with him, singing some Skid Row songs. Well, Gavin's got some pipes. He definitely has some pipes. Shit. You know.
Hey, the Cox want to know when is Halo being added to the you know what chart? That must be the penis chart. And for all the guys on my round table, we're gonna be putting like we're gonna start filling up the lower end of the penis chart with all of you guys. So I'm just fucking with you.
I gotta tell you, you know, since Metal Sludge, probably since I came out of the closet, if you want to call it that, we have not updated the penis chart, you know?
Yeah.
It was fun at the time, but at some point it's closed for, you know, new entries. I've had some people, well, mostly girls, go, hey, you know, I know about this guy. He's not on there. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, I'm not adding any more. There's enough dicks in the world. So we're not adding any more people to the penis chart. The penis chart did its duty at some point. It made an impact. People liked it. It was fun. But
I'm going to point out this comment because Lonnie Hopkins, who I met at the John Corabi, Stevie Rachelle show, Stevie Rachelle, the John. See,
what you're talking about.
I got Stevie Rachelle on the brain at the John Corabi, Tom Kiefer show, and he was wearing a Tuff shirt. And he comes up and he's like, "Hey, man, you know, I love the channel. We sat and chatted. We took a picture, and so, man, thank you for the kind words. And he, it was awesome to meet you. I was so flattered that so many people came up to me at that show, and thanks for the super chat, man. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody who's even hanging out. What have we been on here for 30 minutes? And, you know, we talked about, like, what should we talk about? How should we do this? And I just said, you know, I think we just go on and wing it. You know, I mean, the thing is, I've done these interviews before. I've went on podcasts with Jason Green. I've went on with Chris Aiken at the Classic Metal Show. I mean, there's a bunch. I did Jack McKissock. God, that was forever ago. I mean, I've done so many interviews and podcasts, and people have always said to me, they're like, you should start your own podcast. And I'm like, I'm doing so many things as it is,
Yeah.
and probably not paying much attention to a certain selection of them, which I should. Spreading myself out too thin. But at some point, me and Anthony started becoming friendly, and I'm pushing him, and he's plugging me.
Yep.
Not that way though. But at some point, I was like,
A couple beers and a back massage might loosen me up, though, if you know what I'm saying.
I think I brought it up maybe a month ago or something, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, you do all these interviews and stuff. Maybe we should try a live and see what happens, And so then we kind of started strategizing about what to do and what not to do and when to do it and how to do it. And so, I don't know what you guys were expecting when you came on here, but we're here, and we're just gonna start flicking it up against the wall and seeing what sticks, and hopefully it'll be interesting at some point if it's not already.
And you're right. So you shared. Well, I'll say this: the very first video I ever did on the channel, I wore a Tuff shirt, and I remember you shared it on your social media, and you were like, "Hey,
Right.
this guy has good taste in clothes." Well, maybe a year later,
Great taste in haircuts too. Go ahead.
that's right. Maybe a year later, you did like your first article on one of my interviews. We did an interview that was like 4 hours long, and then it's not like we started chatting all the time after that, but occasional text here and there. Oh, hey, thanks, man, for doing that article. Hey,
Right.
I'm gonna I would wear a metal Sludge shirt, and you might be like, hey, thanks for doing that. Thanks for plugging
Right.
Sludge. And then it kind of grew to, hey, we called each other every now and then and shot the shit. And then I'm just gonna I feel like we have become such friends because over the last couple months, we call each other 2-3 times a week, and it seems like we're on the phone for like an hour and a half. And if we don't talk for a couple days, this is gonna sound really gay. I'd be like, shit, I wonder what Stevie's up to. I kind of haven't talked to him for a little while. So when you brought up the idea of doing this, I'm like, well, we talk for an hour and a half a couple times a week, and usually it's about music anyway. So it just seemed natural that we do this.
So Ryan is asking, I got to know, did the stripper you were lubing up in the Thunder and Mud take a trip to the Ruckapit Bridge, if you know what I mean? You know what? I forgot what her name was, but I say it in that scene, which if you go onto YouTube and you search Thunder and Mud or the Thud Show, there's a clip where I think Nuclear Assault is in the video description. And then what happens is we're backstage with Lauren. That's her name, Lauren. We're backstage with Lauren. She's laying on this table, and me and Michael and Todd and George are rubbing her, massaging her after she lost her mud wrestling match against Nuclear Assault's wrestler. And that show was really goofy. Just so everyone knows, that was directed and produced or whatever by Penelope Spheris, who also did Decline. And they asked us to do it. Obviously, Grave Danger was on, a LA band. Young Guns, which at that time we didn't know them. We met them that day. Then She-Rock, which was with Nasty, the girl from Nasty Habits, Emmy Canyon. She was one of the backup singers for Motley. That was her band. And then Tuff. And there was one other band with Nuclear Assault. And who else was there? Was there a sixth band or a fifth? Either way, I'm getting sidetracked. But when we're in the dressing room, Sam Mann from Sam Mann and the Apes is the guy interviewing us, and he just passed away like a month ago, which sucks. And for the record, Ryan, no, nothing happened between me and Lauren, but she did look good. She looked great. She had a great
somebody thinks something is happening between us, and look who it is. That must be Drew from Get on the Bus TV. Says just start kissing. Jeez,
that's Drew. That's Drew from
Wild Side.
Hang on, Lucy, buddy.
Hey, and shit. Drew was somebody. I've said this, and Drew, I'm not just kissing your ass because you're here. But one of the reasons I started this channel, there were like 5 albums. Wild Side, Under the Influence was one of them. And I'm like, people need to know about this record. So when I got to interview Drew, I was like, fucking A, man. Like, you don't know how big of a deal it is for me to talk to the singer of one of my favorite. And was kind of that way with you with what comes around goes around. I love Wild Side, and I love Get on the Bus, the YouTube channel. You guys are awesome. So
I think they're awesome too.
hell yes.
And at some point, I think I'm going to get on the bus. We shall see.
And that would be, and Stevie just hooked me up with I'm working with Mark Simon from Wild Side to get an interview. And speaking of Mark Simon, and I'll just throw this out there, he said that they are kind of close to the fires that are happening in California.
Correct.
So,
right.
and I know you said that you can kind of see them out your window. So we hope that everyone is okay. And Ryan is a firefighter. RBK is a firefighter out in California. So bless those people who do those jobs that take care of us.
And speaking of jobs, and speaking of giving people a shout out, let me tell all you guys that are watching this, in case you don't know, I'm sure some of you do know, but Anthony Bryant, the hair metal guru, was in the military, served our country for over 20 years, did multiple tours of duty in Kosovo
and Iraq.
And in addition to serving the country for 20 plus years, he was also a teacher in our education system for 12 years.
Yeah.
And he's no longer in the military and no longer a full-time teacher, but he is a coach. He works with students. He works with kids. So the guru has all kinds of great credits, and he should be revered and appreciated for that. Anthony, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. And you know, people ask, you know, why did you leave teaching? And I love kids. I really do. But everything about my life, like when I wasn't working, it's either spent listening, thinking about, reading this music. And I've told people, I said, from when I was, you know, leaving high school, like I always wanted to be involved in music somehow. My voice sucks. I never had the patience to learn an instrument.
Your hair sucks.
What my hairline sucks, or at least it does now. But 3 years ago, you know, you know what? Fucking, I'm gonna set up my phone and I'm gonna rank the Warrant albums, and you go like, fuck, I have no clue what I'm doing. Kind of like we're doing on this live show,
right?
So I thank you for saying that. But the fact that you and I are sitting here, and I've told the story, like at the end of May of '91, I buy the What Comes Around Goes Around album. I'm telling all my friends, hey, I just found, like, you guys don't know about this band, but this is going to be the next big band. This is the next Poison. And now for you and I to be sitting here doing a live together, it's still fucking baffling. So anyway.
Well, and here's what else is crazy. So that's 91, and about a decade after that, and I didn't know this when we first started kind of chatting, and I think we even did the interview. You had maybe mentioned it, but I guess it went through my hairline and out the other, that Anthony Bryant was actually a sludgeaholic.
That's right.
Sludgeaholic of the month on Metal Sludge 20 plus years ago.
If I was
while you were in Iraq.
I had emailed, and I don't know if you got it, or I mean, Sean was involved.
It was probably Sean that was originally going back and forth with you as Janie Bond Neal. Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm a massive fan. I'm in Iraq, and I might have, because like we had Saddam money. And everybody at home wanted that. And I might have just said, hey, I'm a huge Metal Sludge fan.
So real currency?
Yes. With Saddam Hussein's picture on it.
Wow.
And I think I sent you guys some. I could be wrong. Maybe, yeah. But I know somebody else, there were people who sent us CDs and shit. And I would go, hey, I'll you know, I'm going to send you a box. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'll send you some Saddam money. Well, anyway, I emailed Metal Sludge and was like, hey, I'm here. I'm a huge fan, blah, blah. And if it was Sean, said, hey, we'd like to feature you as Sludgeaholic of the Month. And I was so fucking jazzed because I was in Iraq And after that thing posted, like I got emails from guys like Steven Sweet and all these guys like thanking me for my service. Anyway, it was epic.
You just froze, so I don't know what you did any differently. I can see myself moving. I don't see you moving, but
Did you hear me talking though?
I can hear you talking fine, but you're frozen. I don't know. Anybody else in the comments? Did Anthony freeze?
Am I still frozen?
You're still frozen, at least for me on
Holy
my
shit.
feed. And I'm looking at the YouTube link, and you're frozen there too.
Well, I'm dancing like a son of a bitch here. I'll never be able to dance like this again.
So if you sent something, you probably sent it to one of our PO boxes, likely in Minnesota or Indiana. And then if you got a package from us, I sent that to you.
Right. And I ordered some shirts. Am I still fucking frozen? I wonder if I have to go out and come in.
Steve Brown rocks. Is that Steve Brown or is that Steve Brown? Somebody says he's frozen. CC Banana goes show up anytime now. Rest in peace, CC Banana. Frozen, but audio is working. This is a first Stevie connection. Usually sucks. How do you know I suck? Frozen Guru. That's from Dennis from Tattoo Rodeo. Probably
Steve
frozen.
Brown rocks.
Piss
Is in here.
Who?
Steve Brown. Well, I think it's Steve Brown from Trickster.
Steve Brown. You mean Steve Brown from Def Leppard?
From Def Leppard.
I have a poster of Stevie. I live in Puerto Rico. Please go to China on tour. Wow. You can stay at my house. My wife won't mind. Yeah, you're still frozen, Anthony. I'm reading comments. I'm going to read comments until you get unfrozen.
Hey, you do something. I'm going to try to go out and come back in.
Frozen like a bald popsicle.
That's real cool, Brian Lindell. I saw
that. Drew says, "Get your podcast together."
Fuck, I know. I'm leaving the studio. I hope I don't fuck anything up.
Steve Brown from Always Jovi. Audio is fine. Still frozen. Still frozen, Anthony. Yes, I'm here, you dudes. That's Steve Brown from Trickster. Steve's a legend. I love Steve.
I'm nervous if I leave the chat, will I be able to come back in? Or if I leave I'm gonna try it.
Yes, your poster is all over Puerto Rico. Really? White Sister and Tattoo Rodeo rocked. Someone turn on the heat for Anthony. He's frozen, says Steve Brown.
This sucks balls.
Dave Racer says frozen. I want that shirt, Stevie, from Chris Adams. Chris, 7-Eleven is all over Thailand. I got multiple shirts like this. I'm like the Monkey Boys on Instagram. You know, they do a lot of flexing in their stuff. But 7-Eleven, if anybody's ever been to Thailand, 7-Eleven is literally on every street corner. And their 7-Elevens are crazy. They're like so amazing. Anthony, are you still there or did you bail?
I'm still here, but I'm nervous to leave because
why don't you go into settings and change your background and see if that works, or try one of your visual enhancers and see if that tweaks something. I'm going to continue to read some of these comments. I want that shirt, Stevie. Stevie, do you think you may write or release a book? I think I need to do that because everybody, including some industry people, have said you should write a book. Now, I'm not like some English scholar, but I guess people do like my storytelling. The guys in a record say Steve Brown rocks. Just talked to Brian Durbin about you last night. Melissa Hadley says, ha, ha, ha. Matt Flesh says, Stevie, what's your 3 favorite singers? Drew Hanna, Steve Brown, and Sebastian Bach. Skylar B says, Stevie, thanks for Metal Sludge. Love the upgraded site. Yes, it's kind of a few tweaks. Patrick Reeves is giving a shout out. That is Steve Brown. Michael Finn says the guru is frozen. Bullwolf 90 rocks. Come back wearing less. Okay.
Beowulf is my buddy. I'm trying to figure this shit out. Thank you, everybody, for being so supportive. I can't believe I'm still frozen because this has never happened where I've frozen for this long.
Well, it happened with me the other day a little bit. What happened to Far Cry? Published the Tuff Diaries. Stephanie Mandel says Tuff sucks. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this shit out.
Is that Stevie Rachel? There's actually an E on the end of that. Cold as ice for the guru. Frozen, a great Skid Row song. Dean Kihei says, turn on the lights. Kenny Chavis, what's up? I think you just placed an order. Yeah, that's right. Dude, Kenny, just for the record. These didn't go out today. They're going out tomorrow.
Can you see me now?
I can see you now, but your shirt's off. Dude, put some clothes on.
I just refreshed it. Oh, I was fucking nervous to do that.
Okay. So hey, Kenny, you rock, dude. You got Kenny ordered a vinyl set and and a CD, but there's gonna be a couple extra things coming with your stuff, dude. Jordan says you went to put a winger shirt on. Matt Flesh. Guru never looked so good. Hello, Patrick. The Bengals roster looks promising this postseason. But the Guru's a Steelers fan, so you guys might be in a fist fight. Guru should do an interview with Bruce Nauman from Hurricane Alice, who's in Minnesota. Bruce is a good guy. You know, honestly, we played Rock Timber a few years ago, and Hurricane Alice was one of the first bands on. That dude's still got a gnarly voice, man.
I saw him.
I was impressed. He was wailing. Yeah. I was like, holy shit.
I saw him. Shout
out to Bruce.
I saw him like 7 years ago. It was Bret Michaels, Bobby Blotzer's Rat, and Hurricane Alice, and Hurricane Alice was really good. So
Lee Ming Incorporated writes, Tuff, good band, but wish they had more hair. I mean, songs.
Hey, I want to show you guys a video of what Charlie looked like waiting for this show to come on. Here it is.
Metal Chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
There you go.
That's amazing.
She was sick the last couple of nights. Like, she never has accidents in the house. She had like 3 accidents and she hasn't eaten in like 2 days. So I'm either going to need to take her to the vet or something.
We don't need anything happening with Charlie. Was watching Dial MTV when you hit number 3. Me too. It was always kind of fun. You know, I could tell everybody too that's watching this. What's interesting is MTV is like radio. It's programmed, or TV. So they know not only the show that's going to play, but they know the video down to the minute. So what would happen is when we got added into rotation in the summer of 1991, we got a programming sheet and they sent it to us. I think it was sent probably by fax or something. So we could literally look at it and would say, Monday, June 24th, 3 p.m. World premiere, Metallica, Enter Sandman. 3:06 p.m. Tuff, I Hate Kissing You Goodbye. 3:10 p.m. Pepsi commercial, 30 seconds. 3:11 p.m. Winger, 17. 3:15 p.m. LaToya Jackson. You know, it was literally, so we knew
LaToya?
in advance, or whoever it was, you know, Janet Jackson, LaToya, we literally knew exactly what time we were going to get played. Michael, Anthony, you're frozen again.
You're shitting me.
No.
What the fuck?
Does anybody else see that Anthony is frozen again?
Jesus.
So, but the programming thing was amazing. So we knew exactly what time we were going to go on, and we'd set the alarm. We're like, hey, we're going to be on at 6:41 p.m. or 3 whatever o'clock. So we could literally set our alarm and then go turn on MTV. So we didn't have to watch it all day wondering when we were going to be on. We kind of knew, which was cool, but it was also kind of it wasn't really a surprise because we knew it was coming. Anthony, reboot your Wi-Fi router. Well, if he does that, the whole thing's going to go away.
Yeah.
Do you know Todd, bro? Greg? Huh? Wednesday 13 is in the house. Did Wednesday on here? Where's Wednesday?
He texted me that he was going to be watching.
All right. Wednesday's the man. Love
That is
Wednesday.
awesome. Am I still frozen, Stevie?
You're black right now, just for the record.
Well, once
Okay,
you
I'm
go
gonna read
black,
this. I'm gonna read this super chat. Been off work with a bad back for 7 weeks now. This channel has really saved me. All the best. Keep up the great work. Cheers from Australia. Eden H Music threw us $5, dude. Awesome. Thank you from down under. Yesterday when we did our test, and even today, we've seen people from Puerto Rico, from I think Peru. Okay, there's a Bruce Nauman update. What does it say? Bruce Nauman, present guitarist and Hurricane Alice, also plays with Stephen Piercy on the night Hulkster's not there. Okay, so Anthony, I can see you now. Move.
okay.
So what do you think's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know if this StreamYard uses a bunch of weird like megabytes or whatever the fucking term is, but
We might have to upgrade to the platinum version just
And-
for future reference, because I think it says that if we upgrade, there's some more stuff that works a little better, I think.
and what we said is this first show is going to be all about working out the kinks. So for the holy shit, 341 of you are here. Thank you for sticking with us while we work through the kinks. I apologize. I'm after this, I'm going to figure out, because I've usually never had this many issues with Zoom, but this is our first time on StreamYard.
Well, there's also the difference of that we are live, and I think
Yep.
that's different. Okay, so let's go back to some questions, shall we? Stevie, can we buy that Tuff flag? You talking about what's behind me? That's not a flag. That's actually a banner. And we have different banners, different sizes. That one is probably, it's about 10 feet wide by about 7 or 8 feet tall. And across the top of it, which you can't see, it's folded, is the first time I played Australia in 2007, a promoter made that for me. And it was, they had some kind of a show. It was called like the Rock and Metal Show. So there's a rock and metal logo, there's a Metal Sludge logo, and then there's some other, I forget what it is. There's some sponsor type logos across the top. But when we would go on the road, if we played clubs, that would be a great backdrop to hang behind, like a drum riser, in a small 300-400 seat club. Then we have another one that's even bigger, that's like 18 or 20 feet wide by 12 feet tall with a bigger logo. And then it's got some Monster Energy M's in the corners, because as a bunch of people know, I was sponsored by Monster forever. So I used to get just tons of stuff. And they also give you backdrops and embroidered gear with, like, they used to do wristbands where they'd put your Tuff logo on one side and the Monster on the other. They'd make a bunch of them for us to give out to people. And so that's not a flag, that's a backdrop. But
did you drink so much Monster Energy that you were like pissing neon green?
Yeah, the good thing is they at some point started incorporating all these different flavors. You go to 7-Eleven, and in the beginning it was just the green, or then the blue was like the low carb or diet. But then they started with like the mochas and the coffee blends and the super juices, and there was just so much stuff. I would go there with my Explorer, and they would give me, no exaggeration, 30 cases of stuff. It would be like 3 cases of this, 2 cases of this, 2 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this. And plus it was done through Hanson's Beverage. So Hanson's also did like juice boxes for kids and cases of water and orange drink. And so then they give me a bunch of that as well. So I'd had that for all my kids, when they were little, like juice and all that kind of stuff, which was pretty interesting.
Stevie, Patrick donated $20. Thank you, Patrick. But says, can we get a line from Lonely Lucy?
What does that mean?
It means, will you sing a line from Lonely Lucy for the $20 super chat that he gave us?
So let me ask you, Anthony, do you know how the lyric starts?
I know the chorus. Like right now, I can't remember how it starts.
Yeah. Well,
I need to hear it.
Yeah, the thing is being a singer too. If somebody says to me like, "Hey, do you know the lyric?" Usually I don't.
Yeah.
And even when the song starts, there's times, as a matter of fact, this has happened a couple times in the last maybe few years. There's been a few times, I think on the cruise it even happened where I was like, I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know. Let's
I'm
see.
sure.
A ragtop Royce and heels up high, thinking she's a queen. Old Lucille is rotten now, a one night stand machine. And I'll tell you this, you know where I got the title Lonely Lucy from?
Charlie Brown.
I stole it from Wildside.
No shit.
Yeah. So I think I told Drew this. So if he's listening, he'll get a laugh. So we were rehearsing in Burbank in a studio warehouse lockout with 3 bands: Legs Diamond, Wildside, who were called Young Guns at the time, and Tuff.
Yep.
And we'd rotate. So on Monday and Wednesday, we'd get the studio from 6 to 9, and then Wildside or Young Guns would come in 9 to 12, or vice versa. Thursdays and Fridays, it was different. And I remember all their gear was set up in one corner, ours was set up in another corner, and then Legs Diamond was over here. We all had like chalkboards and song set lists and stuff. And at some point, I remember seeing they had a song called Hang On Lucy.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Todd and George were working on that riff for Lonely Lucy, that busy riff. And at some point, I basically stole the name Lucy and I wrote Lonely Lucy.
Here, I'll give you a part of the chorus. Here it goes. Ready? Lonely Lucy, she'll sing for you tonight. She got to go downtown, should have been uptown, making me feel all right. Ooh, I know I can't sing, but I got it all right there.
Wow. Well,
right?
At least my job is safe and tough. But
that's right.
Anyway.
Not gonna leave my
Lucy. Wednesday 13, DD Mad City. Where's Wednesday's handle? I don't see it. Audio, no visual. That's old. I live in Tokyo part of the year. I saw Pretty Boy Floyd last year. Great show. Okay, good for them. Might need a bandwidth upgrade. That might be why you're freezing.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of that shit.
Jordan Scholes says he's watching too much porn, hacking the internet. Guru has shitty Wi-Fi.
I shaved my palms right before I got here, though, so I'm good.
Bandwidth from a tech teacher. Buenos Aires has a poster in the club. What does that mean? A poster of what? Columbus, Ohio here. Canada across from Detroit in Windsor. What's up, Canada? My favorite band is Cannibal Corpse. That's Li Ming Incorporated. 3 guys and a record. Speaking of the Kinks, Phobia was a great album. Pedal Faster. Who do you listen to growing up? Who did you, I'm guessing, so that's Raymond Abel. Who did you listen to growing up, Stevie? Devo. The Surf Punks, the B-52s, the Boomtown Rats.
Hey, everybody that hear you.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. No, I because I was a skater, I liked all kinds of new wave and punk. And then when MTV hit, I was basically listening to anything that was on MTV, which was Billy Idol. And okay, so Austin Newland, I recognize that name. What's up, Austin?
Here at Stevie, Austin says recently got the Lionsgate Blu-ray. They made a Blu-ray of the Stoned Age.
Right.
Any good memories of being on the set? This has been a favorite movie of mine since 2000. I just watched it for the first time. Like,
and
week. I mean, somebody Stone from that does the roundtables said it was better than Dazed and Confused. I'll be honest, it's not better than Dazed and Confused, but it was better than I imagined it would be. It was pretty funny.
Okay, and so was there any acting that stood out or any?
Well, you know, when you were sitting there on the car drinking beer with the guys, I was like, how did this guy not get a bigger role? Like, you didn't get any lines. What the shit? How much did you say you got paid for that?
I don't remember. It was probably a couple $100 a day. Of course, it was 30 some years, more than 30 years ago. So that'd be like $400 a day, you know? What do I remember about it? Well, there's Wednesday. If you freeze again, try the hair dryer.
What's that? I need to know.
I don't know, but
assuming you're
hey,
talking
everybody,
about
let's give a
this.
shout out to Wednesday 13. He's going to be on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year. And if you guys, let me just tell you this. If you guys have never seen Wednesday live, and I'm not just saying this, he's a fucking great frontman.
I'm a
Great
huge
frontman,
Wednesday
great
fan.
singer, and his show is great. He's got a funny side. When we played Australia, I remember him saying, he walks out on stage and he goes, I bet you all you guys are wondering what the hell I'm doing on this show. Well, I'll tell you this. When I was a little kid, I used to read Metal Edge and Enough's Enough and Pretty Boy Floyd and Tuff. Those were my Faster Pussycat. Those were some of my favorite bands because he's got a little Southern accent. And then he said something like, he goes, some guy over there said I look like Eddie Van Halen, but that's not true because he's dead. And then they went into some song with dead in the title, but it was great. And Wednesday's a great guy. He's a huge fan, and he's going to be on the cruise next year. And I'm sure that anybody and everybody that gets a chance to see him is going to become a fan because his stuff is good. He's got some really good songs. We have Good Guys Wear Black, and he's got a song called It's a Good Day to Be a Bad Guy. It's a great track.
I've never seen Wednesday, but I bought the album Transylvania 90210.
And
because I heard the song what I walked with a zombie, and I was like, what
Yeah.
the shit is this?
Yeah.
So I bought the CD, and then the whole CD rules. What was the song I was talking about? Oh, I Want Bad Things to Happen to You.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I was a fan. I started buying all the CDs. So actually, I am talking with Wednesday about coming on for an interview. That would be so fucking epic because I'm a huge fan.
And if you look at his records, you're always going to find some really fun titles. Like
Totally.
he's got a song called Look What the Bats Dragged In.
Yep.
You know, so
Yep.
you can't go wrong with a Poison reference, you know?
And you just mentioned Enough's Enough. So I was going to point out that I just got this bad boy in the mail.
Nice. So
And-
have you interviewed Chip or Donnie?
Okay, should I tell this?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay, I interviewed Donnie. But we were having some issues. So it didn't come out.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I'll just kind of leave it there. I hope to get back with him, but it just was not the right day.
Okay.
If I can say that. So
Well, we need to make that happen. Or Chip. Chip is a legend.
yeah.
Real name Greg.
He
Gregory. I love Chip.
we chatted on Twitter or X, and I asked him, and he liked
Chip?
the response.
Chip or Don? Okay.
Chip. He liked the response, but he never responded, and I get it. So I just interviewed Vicky Hamilton, and so I'll tell you this, and then I'll ask your opinion on this because I'm very interested in the answer to this question, and maybe people in the comments, of which there are 366 people watching. Holy shit!
Let's get it to 400. Can everybody
Yes.
send it at least to one person? Let's see if we can get. We got to get over the 400 mark, which is a good weight if you're 500 pounds and you want to get down to 400. But okay, so go back to your.
So anyway, I interviewed Vicky Hamilton, and she was awesome. And when we got done, she was like, "You're really good at this." I'm not trying to, but I was like, "Wow, thank you." So I said, "Well, we had been talking about doing this interview for a while, and it was Stevie reaching out to her that helped us get it set up." So I said, "Well, sometimes I think people maybe don't want to come on because they hear the name the hair metal guru, and they
Right.
don't want to be associated with that name because some people don't like it. Some people have grown to accept it." So she said that may have been a reason I was hesitant to come on.
That's
Then
what
she
Vicky
She
said.
was glad. So I wonder, because there are numerous rock stars that me and Patrick have reached out to that don't come on, but they'll go on other channels who have less of a following, and which is fine. But sometimes I wonder if it's because of the name.
Well, now you really blew it.
What's up?
You're friends with me now.
I know it.
And now nobody's going to want to talk to you.
Right? Right? That's okay, because I'd rather be friends with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right.
Like Drew said, let's just make out. What's this lace? Oh, that's Wednesday again. You froze again. Try the hairdryer method. That's an old quote, Anthony. Come on, dude. You're really dropping the ball on the first live. Let's get another quote up there.
What do I got to do? If you hit the like button, the algorithm will spread the live to more people.
Music.
Hit the like button.
Okay, yeah. Did he spell algorithm wrong? Okay, so the Rockin' Roundtable says, hi, Stephanie, Shay, and Matthias. I have to have my glasses on to read these. Otherwise, why don't you put a few up, Anthony, and I'll read them, and then you can read a few.
Sure, but can I get your? Do you think that the name does stop some people from coming on the channel?
100%. But you know what? It's like so we know Eddie Trunk does not like the name hairband or hair metal. Sebastian Bach doesn't like it. Ricky Rackman has said he doesn't like it. But you know, some guys don't really care, you know, right. But some do. And again, it goes back to that old, you can't please everybody, you know, right. It's like, it is what it is, you know. I mean, some people would think, you know, the term grunge, I don't know, is that good or bad? Do those guys all want to be grunge, or are they really just a rock band or a metal band? If you had a name like Metal Sludge. Yeah. So it's funny. I've over the years, you know, there was times when people would back off because of the Sludge name, but then there's people that would want to be in, you know, because the site's getting attention or getting hits, or it's just a weird, it's a weird, it's like anything, you know, it's like Wolfgang Van Halen, you know, he's getting certain amounts of attention because of his last name. You know, you take the last name away and a lot of that's going to go away. And then people go, well, he's so talented. Or then people say he's so fat, you know, or now he looks like he's losing weight. I don't know if he's on something, but you know, hopefully he'll stick with it, because at some point his weight was pretty out of control. And you'd think, you know, for a guy that was in his mid 30s, if he's 300, 400 pounds, you know, that's going to catch up to you at some point. And you got to be cognizant of that.
Did you see the picture of Demi Moore where her arms are out and it looks like she's been on Ozempic and her arms look like a toothpick?
I didn't see that. No.
Okay. Well, and anyway, and well, I mean, speaking of people's weights, what Kelly Osbourne, I saw some pictures of her recently and she looked like she'd been in a concentration camp. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but holy balls. She used to be kind of chunky, and now she was so skinny. It was unreal. Are you reading comments, or?
I'm reading comments, and some girl named Stephanie Mandel at 6:12 p.m. said, "Guys, let's get this above 400 people."
Oh, there you go. There you go. Here's a comment. Ryan Parsons says the musicians who denounce something like hair metal sure as shit cashed in with that term. They hate now probably because they're having an identity crisis and it's hard for them to stay relevant. Well, we've talked on the channel about in the mid 90s and the late 90s and even in the early 2000s, it really was a slur. And I used to say, like, don't call it that. I used to get really offended.
Right.
But it seemed like around 2008 when the first Rocklahoma was, and that thing was so massive, and it seemed like it started to become more socially acceptable. Then you get Hair Nation. So it's what I've always told people is, like, we kind of took it back. Like, we took it from being a slur and we kind of made it our own. And that's why I named the channel what I named it. You know, there's been times where I've been like, fuck, I should have named it something else. The Glam Metal Guru has a nice ring to it. But at this point, I'm basically stuck with it. So I hope the rock stars who, you know, are maybe going, Well, number one, I hope that our interviews continue to do so well that eventually they just kind of have to come on. That would be nice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Think about this. If somebody goes, hey, man, I know this guy who is a huge music fan. His name is Anthony. And he was in the military for 20 years. He did multiple tours of duty. Then he came home. He was working as a teacher. He's got all these great credits. He's a really good guy. He wants to interview you. Ah, sounds great. Sounds like a really good person. I'll do an interview. Yeah, his channel's called The Hair Metal Guru. No, man, I don't want to be associated with anything that says hair metal in it.
Right.
Wait, did I
Right.
sound like Sebastian there a little bit? No, man, I don't want to be associated with anything that says hair metal. That's fucking stupid. I didn't call it hair metal when I called it rock and roll, man, heavy metal. It's like heavy metal's kind of a dumb term too, if you think about it. Thrash, Hesher, so
Right.
if anybody's going to judge you based off of that, it's like, but it's not any one particular everybody at some point is guilty. If you say, hey, I know this woman, she's a mom, she's got a couple of kids, they both are going to college, she owns her own home, she's a hard worker, she takes care of herself, she's really fit, she donates to the homeless, she goes and works at shelters. Oh, really? Sounds like a good person. What does she do? Well, she actually does OnlyFans. What a dumb whore. Fuck
Right.
her,
Right.
So it's like, somebody's going to judge you because the term hair metal is associated. And I think that's been evident for me over time. I'm the guy from Metal Sludge. And there was times when people would see these old pictures, like when people still go, oh, that's the guy that, wants to look like Bret Michaels. I mean, do I look anything like Bret Michaels in the last 20 years of my life? I mean, I don't think I do, I mean, I guess we're both aging rockers with, I guess some German roots and blue eyes, but the point is, when people get to talk to me or meet me as a person, a lot of times they're like, you're different than I thought. Or when people find out that I've always been sober and I don't smoke or didn't drink, or I've never been drunk or didn't do coke or don't have time. There's certain things about me that are a little bit not stereotypical in line with what a stereotypical rock and roll singer is.
Right.
It's totally different. But there's also people that just judge it. They're like, oh yeah, Stevie, Rachelle from Tuff and Metal Sludge. Fuck that site. That guy's a fag. Fuck his stupid band. The Glam fucking sucks, So there's times that people will kind of have a preconceived notion about who I am as a person without even really knowing me. And I think the same thing applies when you come out and you say, I'm the hair metal guru. You want to do my show?
Right.
No, not into it,
Yeah. And I got to say, your Sebastian Bach impersonation was pretty fucking spot on. Like, I was expecting you to go, what's up, mother truckers?
What's up, dude?
Here's a good question. Have you been to Michael Lean's Coffee and Bagels place?
What is the comment? It's from Jeremy Lauer. Have you tried Michael? Are you asking me? I mean, I have. Yeah, I've been to Michael's. I've been to 2 of his stores. I've never been to the one in Mammoth. Actually, I've been to 3. I went to the one in Newbury Park. That's no longer there, but there's one in Woodland Hills on Topanga. There's also one in Camarillo that's been there. That's the flagship store that opened in 94. It's been there 30 plus years. So yeah, let's do some questions, Anthony. Why don't you put them up?
Okay. Well, I gotta look for questions. There's so many coming through. Oh, are you boys going to get Tammy down on a live stream? If Stevie can make that happen, absolutely.
I texted T. I've been working with Anthony for the last, I don't know, the better part of a year. At some point, I've been kind of feeding you a couple of interviews here and there, and we've kind of upped the ante on that. So there's some interviews that we got in the pipeline. We won't tell everybody what we got going until you drop it, but there's a bunch of kick-ass interviews coming up. And I did text Tammy the other day. I know he's got stuff going on. Tammy's awesome.
I
those
don't know if
guys.
you want to address this, but we are coming up on the 14th anniversary of the passing of CC Banana.
Do you know about that?
I don't.
Okay. CC Banana, for anybody that used to watch or read Sludge back in the day, there was a guy who his name is AJ. I think his last name was like Confessor or something like. It's like an Italian. He's from New Jersey, and AJ was a huge Kiss fan. And does anybody remember when CC DeVille? I've talked about this before. I'm going to say something on live here. This might be the first time some of you guys even realize this. So, how many people listening think the paid meet and greet is a good idea? Or is it a bad idea? You know who you can blame for that? CC DeVille.
Right?
If you Google on YouTube, Google CC DeVille meet and greet sign, $5 handshake or photo. CC, when Poison got back together 20 some years ago, he used to walk around with a sign and he said, "I'm so sick of everybody wanting a picture with me. I'm not taking pictures unless you pay me $5. You want to shake my hand? It's $2. You want me to say hi to you? It's $1." And he'd walk around with a sign after the Poison show that they played in theaters, arenas. He'd walk around with a sign. And if you wanted a picture with CC DeVille, you had to give him $5, and he'd take your $5 and he'd take a picture with you.
Remember, he wore that sandwich board.
Yeah, he had a sign. It went over and he walked around. He's like, $5 tip for a picture. So then what happened is CC Banana was this diehard music fan, loved Kiss, lived in New Jersey, New York, and he worked for a company that would send him to birthday parties. So he would dress up like a clown and make balloon animals for kids. And that one of his jobs was he had to wear this banana suit. And I think he was like, stood on the corner with a sign and it pointed towards some fruit cafe or something.
Right.
So at some point he got this idea to wear the banana suit to a concert. And he called himself CC Banana. And then he had a sign. You want to meet CC Banana? It's $5. You want to get a picture with me? It's $2. So he'd walk around and he coined himself CC Banana. And then everybody started giggling and thought it was funny. Then people were meeting him. And it kind of took on a life of its own. We interviewed him on Sludge.
Yep.
And then there was a point too. There's photos out there where CC Banana went to a Poison show with his sign and met CC DeVille. So they're both backstage and people are taking pictures. CC Banana is sitting there with his sign and then CC DeVille with his. And CC Banana and he's a New Jersey, New Yorker. And for all you who know that CC's born in the Bronx. That's why he's got that New York accent.
Right.
So CC Banana sounded just like CC DeVille, but he was wearing the banana costume. So then he became part of Sludge history. I think we made him a Sludgeaholic, and we'd send him to shows and he'd be like, "I'm here to interview you guys, 20 questions for Metal Sludge. It's me, the banana. Hello." And he'd have his costume and it had like a Metal Sludge logo sewn on it. If you Google these photos, they'll show up, But it's very sad, as this man has said, we're coming up on the 14th anniversary. CC Banana took his own life.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so what happened, I'm pretty sure this is what happened. He lived with his mom well into his older age. His adult sister moved out. His mom got sick. They had to put her in some type of home. And at some point, the family wanted to sell the house. And he refused to move out. He didn't want to leave. It was his childhood home. It had all his Kiss collectibles and Star Trek collectibles and all the things that he was really a big fan of, all in the basement in the house. And at some point it got kind of ugly where I think the family wanted him to move out. He wouldn't move out. And then they had to get like some attorneys to try to force him. And in the end, he actually took his own life, which is really sad and really unfortunate. But he was a character, and a lot of people in the New Jersey, New York, tri-state area music scene knew him, and especially in the Kiss world. He was really a big Kiss fan.
I did not know that, and
that's
I
the story.
I maybe wouldn't have highlighted the question. I didn't. I didn't know
It's
that.
all good. Hey, you know, we're doing our live, and there's going to be good stuff, and there's going to be sad stuff, and there's going to be guys with no hair and guys with no hair that wear hats. You know, so there's going to be a mixture of good, bad, or indifferent. And just so you guys know, when I do talk with Anthony, he has called me bald and insulted me, which
I
kind of
have.
made me a little sad. But I gotta admit, if I'm gonna get called bald from somebody else that's bald, it hits less.
Like we said, two bald guys talking hair metal. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Well,
Yeah, hopefully my girlfriend never insults me like that.
So
Wait, what?
I think, yeah, I think we may have touched on this interview, but I think this is a good question because I have had my substance abuse issues, especially with alcohol. And how, like, you're in the scene, like, did you not ever take a couple drinks of beer and be like, whoa? Because I remember the first time I had some beers, I was like, wow, I want to feel this way for the rest of my life. How did you not get into that scene, whether it was drinking or, I mean, drugs, I suppose, but drinking?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think some fans might know this because I've talked about it a little bit. But, you know, the thing is, growing up, I grew up in Wisconsin. I was your typical kid. But when I was in middle school in 1978, as a seventh grader, my brother was killed. And my brother was kind of the black sheep of the family. He was dropped out of high school by the time he was 16. He was smoking. He was taking Quaaludes and probably smoking pot. And then, you know, there was trouble around the house. And at some point, my mom and my stepdad asked him, you know, he had to leave. He had to move out of the house. He was underage. So he was then put in some kind of foster home.
Yep.
And my brother was, for whatever it's worth, a troubled kid.
Yep.
And he got in trouble and he got arrested and things happened. Well, he turned 19 in September of 1978, and it was early October. He came to our house and he said, "Hey, I want to take you and buy you a birthday present." And so he took me to the mall to buy me a birthday present in October. My birthday's in March. And my brother had never bought me any presents ever in his whole life. You know, he's my brother, you know, I mean, and we're 6-7 years apart, but you know, it's when he's 15 and I'm, you know, 8, he's not supposed to buy me presents. That's not his responsibility. Right. But now as he, you know, he's essentially an adult. He's out of the house. He said, "I want to buy you something." So he took me and bought me a St. Louis Cardinals jersey. And that was one of my favorite teams at the time, the Packers and the Cardinals. And he bought me some stuff. Then he gave me a card that said, "These days, I don't know which way I'm going. Love and remember, your brother Gib." He gave that to me on October 5th. And then he said, "Next week, I'll come over. Mom's inviting me for dinner on Wednesday. Why don't you have one of your buddies come over and I'll throw the football to you in the backyard?" I said, "Okay." So I told my friend Mike. He came over in his Packer gear. I'm in my Cardinals gear, and we're in the backyard playing with the football. We're 12 years old. 4 or 5 o'clock. It's October. The leaves are falling. It's fall. It's a little chilly. And then a couple hours goes by and my brother never comes. And my mom says, "Hey, dinner served. Come on in." Mike went home. I sat down at the table. We ate. And my mom thought it was kind of weird that he never showed up. That was Wednesday. On Friday, 48 hours later, I'm in the bathroom and I'm getting ready to go to the Y dance, the YMCA dance. Every Friday there was a Y dance, and we go and they played all kinds of, you know, disco, and it's middle school. So this is a big deal. It's like a sock hop, you know. And I heard this scream in the living room, and I come out and there's 2 men in trench coats talking to my mom, and my mom's hysterical. And my little sister looks at me and says, "Gibby's dead." I can still remember that. She's younger than me. She's 10 and a half, 11 years old. And I come out, and basically I learned later that those two men, one was a detective and one was the county coroner, and they came to our house on Friday, October 13th, to tell my mom that her son was dead. My brother, like I said, was a troubled kid. He led a life of trouble, kicked out of school, drinking, smoking, partying, drugs. And I think that subconsciously, preteen, 12 years old, I thought, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do drugs. I don't want to be a bad kid. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to die. Is kind of what I thought, you know? And again, that could have been different, you know?
But you, like, my mom smoked. I used to rag on her. I'm like,
Yep.
please, you're going to die. You know, we'd all
Right.
been told how, you know, you're going to
Right.
get cancer. My stepdad was an alcoholic.
Yep.
You know, my brother and I, we used to come home and we used to say, like, if his truck was in the driveway, just go in, don't say anything, go up to your bedroom, because you don't, you know, it was just get away.
Yeah, he could snap or be in a bad mood or something.
He went, it wasn't physical, but it was either verbal or just, you just didn't want any. So I was like, I am never going to do any of that stuff. And it's weird how with you that stuck. But I remember, like, 8th grade, one of my brother was 4 years older than me. His one of his best friends was like, hey, I'm going to a party, you know, and I was kind of getting to the age where maybe I'll bring you along if you want to go.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'll go. I get to hang out with the older kids. And like I said, had a couple beers, and that was like a transformation. You know, at that age, you're like, oh, I can't talk to these people. They're older than me. I'm the young kid. And next thing you know, I'm like the life of the party. And anyway, that leads to, you know, for a number of years, it worked for me. You know, I could drink and still do everything I needed to do. But long story short, by the time I'm 27, I'm dropped out of college. I weigh 250 pounds. I'm smoking a pack a day. And I'm like going, what the fuck happened to my life?
Right.
So I've always been, you know, but I wasn't in the rock and roll scene.
Right.
You know, I grew up in North Dakota where everybody drank, but I can't imagine walking the Sunset Strip and the amount of partying that was going on. So anyway, I salute you for your ability to stay on that path.
Well, and thank you for that. And sorry that you went through your stuff, but congrats on being able to come out the other side, you know? And I will say this. So that was what happened when I was 12 years old, you know? So now I get into high school and I am going to parties. I am going to kegger parties, and everyone's got a cup that they charge you $5 for, and everyone's drinking beer. Yeah. Did I try beer? Of course I did. Did I try to smoke a cigarette? Of course I did, you know? But for starters, I never liked the taste of beer. I always thought it was gross. You know, like when I was old enough to drink and we'd go to a bar, I would get like a Sex on the Beach, which is basically like 7-Up and cherry juice with a, you know, a shot of vodka or something. Yeah. So I would drink, what is this? Guru ever snort the nose candy? So but I didn't like beer. But I do remember being at high school parties where everybody's there. There's 50, 60 kids. I would have the prettiest girl, and I'd be walking around with a Hawaiian punch or a sun-kissed orange. And then some guy would be like, oh, Handsetter, what are you drinking? A kid's juice? You bitch, you know? I'd be like, yeah, right here. Fucking my balls, your face, you know? Check out my girlfriend, you know? So I always was confident. There was no, like, even if people were like, hey, dude, you want some? I'm like, no, I'm cool, you know? Come on, you pussy. It's like, pussy, how does fucking fuck you sound? You know, I was never intimidated. I never cared. So didn't matter what anyone else was doing. I was confident myself. So there was no peer pressure. Like some kids would show up, and I remember being at high school parties, and the kid who's the biggest nerd in the class, who's like a 4.0, now he's in the corner like slamming beers, and now he's kind of drunk, and he's like, you know, suddenly, like, holy shit, look at Joey's ripped drunk. And the guy's like the quietest nerd ever, but he kind of got beer muscles. He got a little drunk and it kind of gave him a little confidence to go up to girls. But I just never felt that pressure. And I will say that, years later, a lot of people for years have said that So Many Seasons is their favorite Tuff song, and if you read the lyrics, the song is kind of upbeat. It's a fun sing-along song, but the solo version I did on my first solo record with the piano, it's more stripped down and there's more emotion there. Seasons changing, leaves like rain are falling down. Last week just passed me by. You never came to town. Mom said it was strange. All of these lyrics, this is true to life.
Yep.
I put myself in the backyard and remembered what I was feeling as I was throwing my football with my friend. And we had these big oak trees with leaves falling down in October. Those lyrics are that song,
when I got the What Comes Around Goes Around album,
right?
To me, it was a fairly straight ahead,
right?
The all new generation. You had the rock songs. You had, Wake Me Up and I Hate Kissing You Goodbye. But So Many Seasons was the song that I was like, this is what separates, it was kind of like House of Pain with Faster Pussycat, which
right.
I just, interviewed Greg Steele. Like that was something different. That was something that you didn't hear from other bands. And so, but I pulled up this comment. This guy says, I prepared to take my own life back and thanks for being open about sharing this. Back in 1994, when I was 16, I would have went through it if I didn't listen to one last song, which happened to be the Exodus song, Good Day to Die. So when I was sober for the year, and I know I maybe said this before, but I was sober the year I was in Iraq. Before I left Iraq, I was at like my lowest point.
Right.
And I was like, my life was falling apart. I go to Iraq, I'm sober for the year, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? I'm actually I feel kind of good. People are like,
right.
why are you so cheery over here in Iraq? And I'm like, I don't know. I was miserable back at home. But when I got back from Iraq, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to cut down on the booze. I started drinking again. In 2 months after I got home from Iraq, I was right back to where I lost everything that I gained overseas. And
right.
I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And I was like, if there's a step below suicide, that's where I was.
Wow.
And I was like bawling and shaking. And I go to the yellow pages and I call this place. And anyway, so my sobriety date is July 4th, 2004. But I mean, I'm not trying to get all philosophical and deep here, but there's people sharing stuff in the, about getting sober. And I just thought the most important thing that I did was when I'd spent all my years lying. Oh, it's not that bad. I'm having a good time.
Right.
I'll grow up and get the real job later. But I'm just, hey, I'm a free spirit. But on the inside, I was like dying. So when I finally opened up to people was when I finally was like, okay, I really think I can do it this time. So anyway, that's
a couple things. One, it's great that you got through there, got through those tough times. And Trend Massacre, not sure what your real name is, but you were only 16 when you were thinking that.
Yep.
And
sorry,
clearly you're here. You're clearly here today, 32 years later. So now you're 48, you're almost 50. And we think about the things that we've said or done or decisions we made or things that we thought or things that we valued or people we looked up to or things that we longed for. When you have that perspective to look back at when you were a teen or a 20 something, and then when you're 30 or 40 or you become a father or you become, an adult later in life. My kids are 21 and 22. Daughter just graduated Berkeley this last weekend. Steven is 21. He's a junior. They were just here for spring break and we spent, a day hanging out, went to dinner. And Steven was actually here yesterday. His sister's up there still. But he came down and we went to dinner and he's 21 years old. they're both very smart kids, but they're also at a point where their life where there's a lot of things that are going to happen now. I can remember not long ago, I'm holding his hand and her hand across the street. I'm handing them their lunchbox. Now, then they started driving. Now they're no longer 20, or they're no longer teens. They're now in their 20s. And decisions get made, and people grow and learn as time goes on. I mean, my name and my little thing here is 60 Cent. I like 50 Cent. I listen to some of the rap, and I listen to some of their interviews, but I call myself 60 Cent today for fun. I turned 60 recently, and it's kind of crazy to me because I don't feel 60. There's part of me that's still 15.
Yep.
There's part of me that still has that giddy kid in me, but
Totally.
And regardless of how things have been good or bad or highs and lows, we all go through that point in life where you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I wish this would be over. I wish things were different. Why am I not living that life? Why am I not having this? And we don't always have that opportunity to walk in their shoes. We have to walk in our own shoes and at some point figure out our own path,
And yeah, and shit. And some people are like, oh, wow, you've got it all together. And, I'm like, shit, if you don't think I still don't have shit days,
right.
I still have shit days. But hanging out with the guys that do the round tables, hanging out with you, talking about all the, being a part of this has been just like a godsend for me. Because before I was doing this channel, I just kind of sat at home alone with Charlie, which I was fine with. But you guys in this community, these people that like this channel and like, you and what we do has been just like one of the best things that's happened to me in the last couple of years. So,
well,
go ahead.
No, take Jerry. Talk Jerry right now.
Jerry, thanks for the super chat. He said, love listening to KBER 101 when Tuff would be on the morning show in the Fist First era. Any chance of hearing some acoustic Better Off Dead or 16 Tons? And then he has a question for me, but go. Any chance that you'll be playing that?
K-Bear is in Salt Lake City. So Jerry Cox will remember that Corey Draper was one of the main DJs there. I'm still friends with Corey online. If anybody knows Corey Draper, I know if Drew's still listening, the guys from Wildside, they know Corey. K-Bear played a ton of Tuff, Wildside. They played, of course, the Warrants and the Slaughters and the Wingers and the Great Whites and the Motleys and the Poisons. But that radio station was very kind to Tuff, to Wildside, some of our smaller bands. So we used to play there all the time. Haven't been to Salt Lake in forever, and I'd love if a promoter brought us up there. I think we do great numbers because we used to do so good a business there. We'd play a full weekend, and I think we even did all ages shows. So there'd be like, all ages show at 6 p.m. and then a 21 and over at 9 p.m. and great market. But thank you, Jerry Cox, for the question. And I won't be doing any acoustic Better Off Dead or 16 Tons today, but Better Off Dead could end up in the set at some point.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Also ask Guru any plans to cover Pariah from Texas. I have tried to get Sims Ellison's brother. We've actually communicated because I would love to cover Pariah. I love the Pariah album, and I would just love to hear that story. And I'll just say that somebody else asked about covering Zan Cody, the song "Damn." Well, I'll announce here for the first time that I just scheduled Harry Cody, the guitar player from Shotgun Messiah, and Zan Cody for an interview this Sunday. So that will be coming out
awesome
shortly.
Harry's cool. I never met him back in the day that I remember, but him and I became friends recently in the last year or so online. And then I went to go see Rhino Bucket, and he plays guitar with George and Rhino Bucket, who are awesome. And so me and Harry met at the whiskey and hung out a little bit. Great guy.
I love Rhino Bucket. Geez, that's one of the bands that I wanted to talk about when I got here. So
hey, shout out to England. I saw the guy just donated a £1.99.
Yeah, what the
not dollar, pound.
Yeah, that's awesome. Here's somebody here. This might be Shit, we're getting all into the life advice
Okay,
shit.
Chris.
I went to the hospital a couple of weeks ago because my blood pressure was really high. Any advice on making big changes in your life? And we got about 15 minutes left. But Stevie, Stevie, you're jacked. 60 years old. Look at you. Like, holy shit.
Well, I weighed myself this morning. I'm 6 foot. I was 207 in my underwear this morning.
It was
crazy.
Superman underwear.
Superman undies, underoos. My son is bigger than me. He's just a brick shit house. I mean, he looks like he weighs like 225, but I don't know if he's that much. But he's strong as an ox. Yeah. I've been to the gym with him. He's like squatting like 400 pounds, like sets of it.
Good Lord.
And I just look at it. I'm like, this is my son. Don't fall over and let that land on your back. You know, it's like, but Scott or Chris, whatever his name was, I just missed it. I don't know. What's your height and weight? What's your age? You know, I mean, at some point, you know, I know that I've probably eaten okay. I do eat a lot of bad food, but I got weights right over here. I've been lifting weights since I was a little kid. I got a weight set in for Christmas, like in the Sears catalog, you know, with the white and red, the red, white, and blue, where they were filled with sand. Like I had that as like a 10 or 12-year-old kid, and I was a little skinny kid, but I started doing it, and I've always been kind of athletic and active that way. But you know, I guess like we all say, you know, when you get to a certain point in your life, you got to start eating a little better or becoming a little active. And if you let it go too bad, shit's just going to fall apart, you know? Oh, so this is Chris again. I went to the hospital a couple weeks ago because
that's the same one. I brought it back.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you got to buckle down.
I got really heavy when I was in my drinking years, but if I ate what I wanted, I could weigh 300 pounds like nothing.
Right.
Because everything I do is to the extreme. When I drank, it was to the extreme. When, you know, so when I eat, it's to the extreme. When I got into working out, that got to the extreme. So I've been doing the carnivore diet for like the last 2 years, and I've dropped from like 220 to now I'm probably 175, 180, which is honestly, I probably weigh less now than what I did when I was a senior in high school.
And you're 6'3".
6'3".
Right.
I might even be a little, I don't want to say I'm too skinny, but I'm pretty skinny. And I'll just be honest. I've always been obsessed with my weight. It probably to the point of unhealthy, not that I was ever like bulimic but I've always been dieting, and then I would go off diets and just gain tons of weight. So anyway, I drink coffee, I drink water, I eat steak, bacon, eggs, and butter. And really, so I probably eat once a day because I'm just not. So the carnivore diet for me has been the best thing that I can do, because when I eat sugar, I just want to eat sugar all the time. So
I'm looking at some comments here.
Yep.
What a great first show, guys, from Stephanie. That's my GF.
Thank you.
I love her. Alex Vigil says Scold and his wife might not want to be associated with his glam metal days since he's back with Manson. What's in the comment, Patrick? JD65 Chevelle says, hey, Stevie, there was a rumor that you had Vince's ex-wife, Charisse. Is that true? That is not true. Me and Charisse never dated or hung out that way, but we've been friends, and she's awesome. She's a sweetheart. Charisse is cool. I'm down about 100 pounds thanks to the carnivore low carb, maxed out at 375. Wow.
Holy shit. Wow.
Congrats, dude. That's the CD 5150. Congrats on losing that weight. Dana Cooper says metal keeps you young and healthy. Thank you. Crewhead says get Hardcore Superstar on the channel. We could probably sort that at some point. I've become friends with them guys. Great band. Great guys. Tim Scold is very eccentric, or he wants people to think he is. Yeah, he's done some different stuff with his different projects. Jeff Biz Camp is 6'7" and 310. Well, you got some height on you, so I'm sure that if you were 5'7" and 310, you'd be screwed. But yeah, at 6'7", you
Here's
got
the
some room for that.
three guys in a record. I met those guys. They have a podcast. I met them at the Karabi Kiefer show. Very nice guys. Good to see you here.
But he called us amateurs and he misspelled it. So maybe get us.
He's talking about the weight. We're amateurs with the weight.
Oh, okay. Well, he still spelled amateurs wrong. So definitely a great show. Melissa Hadley. I recognize that name. I think, did you order from me, Melissa? Nice to meet you. Patrick Reeves looks familiar.
What's that?
Patrick. Patrick, thank you so much. You and Ryan and Jones and Stone and Jeremy, and I have a little note. I put everyone's name. And most importantly, you know who's the most important out of everybody?
Charlie.
Exactly. Charlie. Charlie is amazing.
And I don't, do you know how I got her?
Did you adopt her? Is she like a pound?
No.
A rescue or something?
No. So
You stole her? You stole her?
I was teaching, right? I taught at a place called Castleton, North Dakota, Central Cass High School from 2020. I taught there for 3 years. That was my last teaching job. And the summer before my last year, I had to put my old dog down, Roxy. She was old and sick. So I get to school and I tell everybody, I'm like, yeah, I'm so bummed I had to put my dog down, but you know, my son Steele, we're such dog lovers. So I hope to get a new dog at one point. Well, I had two twin sisters in class, and they go talk to their mom, and their mom is a dog breeder. Well, their mom reaches out to me, and she's like, our kids love you. You coached my son in basketball, and we think you're awesome. We want to give you a dog. So Charlie they were breeding her, and they're like, we're going to breed her one more time, and then you can have her if you would like her. So she's a purebred golden retriever, and they just gave her to me because they're awesome. And this family is like the greatest family ever. But I've had Charlie since 2023, and she's in the theme song, and now she's in our theme song. But she is the greatest dog ever, and that was just one of the nicest things that's ever happened to me.
Well, I never met Charlie yet, but in seeing her on your videos when she comes in, and you always tell her that she's cute and she has nice boobies, which is cool. So yeah, she's the best, and I love that people talk about her and her OnlyFans and that she has 8 boobies, and I have had people go, dude, that's so gross. I'm like, I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. It's
so,
Did you ever let's see? The Rock and Round Table says, yeah, Violent New Breed, the song I'm a Gun is awesome. Necessary Evil has an important message for everybody. LOL. Jerry Cox, second to none, I'm a Gun. There's
Stevie,
so many.
I'm hoping that one day we can talk about some of your favorite, like even after the Tuff years. I would love to hear like what music you were getting into, even like at all, like from 89 to 93, 94. We talk about those years a ton. So
I've always been into weird stuff though. Like I became obsessed with Insane Clown Posse at one point.
Right.
And I have like their first 4 or 5 records. I saw them in concert a couple times. They're great. I think Violent J is a genius lyricist. Like their songs, a lot of people just go, oh, this is a couple of clown guys yelling and acting like wiggers, They're not. They have a really good business model. They've become very successful and made a fortune. So I'm a huge fan. You want to read some of these?
Sure. Chris Scott, I just found out my dog Max has cancer in his mouth. I have to save up the money to get it removed. I'm going through a lot, guys. Hey, Charlie was just sick for the last couple of days, and I'm not wealthy by any means. And sometimes you're like, wow, how much is this going to cost if I have to go to the vet or if I have
Right.
to, go to the hospital. So I completely get where you're coming from. So I hope you can take care of your dog because, I have those same concerns and shit. So sorry
Yeah.
about that. That's terrible. There's a
I've
lot
had
of people.
two dogs.
Yep.
Two dogs in the last 30 years, 35 years. They're both gone. And I after my last dog, I had a Doberman for almost 15 years. When I had to put her down, I was like, I'm not doing this again. It was just too
Yeah.
hard, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I completely relate. And speaking of Charlie, here you're going to get your first Charlie sighting.
Okay, let's
'Cause
see where
I think
what's up.
she was sick. I think she is now starting to come out of it. Charlie, come here. Here, everybody wants to say hi to you. You're very
Charlie,
famous.
you are good looking. Holy cow.
She is just, even when I clip her nails, like, some dogs will get mad and they'll bite at you. One time I accidentally clipped them too short and it bled. And she still just sat there with her paw out and waited for me to do the other nails. And I was like, you are so sweet. How did you get so pretty? And why are your boobies so big? Yeah. Anyway, there's a Charlie sighting. She was up barking at her boyfriends, telling them they got to sign up for her OnlyFans, which is only $9.99 a month.
There's Sean Thornton. What's up, Sean? Sean's my buddy. Sean's an inside source for Sludge. He's on top of stuff. He gives me a lot of tips. Or maybe I shouldn't expose you, Sean. Too late. Another man's gun got me through a gay experience, says Greg Peterson. Awesome. You should change your first name to Gay Peterson. That would sound better. And people ask me, like, what's up with Another Man's Gun? I didn't write that song. Randy Canner and Michael Caruso did. I just sang it. So
my buddy Jeremy Lauer, who does the roundtables, would love to hear how you got hooked up with Tales from the Porn. He says it's a great album.
So yeah, so that band, thanks for the question, Jeremy. Andy and Bento, Andy's the guitarist, Bento was the bass player. They reached out to me about 10 years ago through Facebook, and they just said, hey, we're gonna record and we want to have you sing a song for us. And they basically messaged me and said something to that effect and said, we want to do kind of what Shameless did. Now, if anybody knows, Alex Michael and Shameless are from Munich, Germany. Back in 1998, Alex Michael, who's the bass player from Shameless, reached out to me and said, hey, I'm making a record. I'm coming to Los Angeles. I'm going to record at Gilby Clark's. Eric Singer's going to play a couple drum tracks. Robert Sweet's going to play a couple. Bruce Kulick's going to be on it. Tracy Guns. Just a whole laundry list of guys. And he's like, I'm looking for a couple of different singers. So he said, do you want to sing a few songs? And I did. So I ended up singing a couple songs. And then out of that grew a friendship with Alex, which now I sang on I think 8 studio records over the last 25 plus years. And we've toured all over Europe, dozens and dozens of shows all over. So these guys from Brazil basically said, we want to do something like Shameless. So they came to me. I said, well, why don't you send me a couple of tracks? Let me listen to it. I thought a couple of the musical ideas were decent. I didn't really like some of the lyric or melody that they had come up with because they had somebody singing a couple of roughs. And at some point I just said, hey, I got an idea. Let me record this song. Here's my fee. Send me the track. It was well produced too. The music was well recorded, good quality. I said, send me the track. Here's my fee. I want to rewrite the lyric and melody. And the first song was actually Back to the 80s, but they had a different title for it and different lyrics. And I said, I want to change it. And they said, no, we want to keep this. And I said, here, I'll make you a deal. I said, let me redo it my way. If you like it, you have to pay me this amount of money. If you don't like it, I'll do it your way for free. So they sent me the track. I wrote Back to the 80s, the lyrics. I went and recorded it, sent it to them. They got it. And they were like, this is amazing. Awesome. Cha-ching, sent me the money. And then they said, let's do another. Let's do another. Next thing you know, we ended up doing a whole record. That was like 2015, 16. And I think it came out in 2017. Sleaze Rocks actually voted it their best release of the year for that year. So shout out to Sleaze Rocks and Oliver.
Yep.
But And then they said, hey, we want to fly you down. We want to do some shows. So then I went down and we did shows as Tales from the Porn. And we threw a couple of Tuff songs in the set, like All New Generation, maybe Kissing You Goodbye and Hairband. But it was mainly a Tales from the Porn show. And that's when I met the whole band. Bruno Marks, Bento Mello, Andy Sun, Edgar Avian, drummer, and the keyboardist, utility guy is Igor Godoy, who also is an amazing singer. And a lot of these guys are in different bands around Brazil, and I've remained friends with them. And so we did some shows as Tales from the Porn, but then Andy got married, had a kid, and he's kind of the leader of the band. So he kind of stepped away from it, but I still work with Bento and some of the other guys. And, I'm about to announce pretty soon that I will be going back to Brazil in October, and I'll be playing in Sao Paulo again, Curitiba, and I think there's a good chance I'm going to be playing in Rio de Janeiro for the first time ever. And there's a few other things that are getting worked on. So the middle of October, I will probably be going to Brazil to play with some of the guys as Stevie, Rachelle, the voice of Tuff, but we might throw a couple of Tales from the Porn songs in the set as well. That's how that came about.
Stevie, we have just passed the 2-hour mark.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun. So Fred Jones just asked, will we be able to watch the episodes if we are unable to watch them during the live feed? Yes, they will all be on my YouTube channel right after this forever. So watch them anytime. And Stevie, do you want to have any closing words before we end this thing?
Yeah, I mean, before we get cut off, hey, to everybody that's watching this, let me look you in the eye. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to our first live. You know, we've thought about doing this. We talked about it. Here we are. It's going to be fun. We're going to do this every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And, you know, who knows if something crazy happens and there's a reason for we have to do an emergency live because some crazy thing happens in the industry, we might pop on again. Obviously, if you're a member of the channel, subscribe. As Anthony says, if you're on your phone, hype the video, share it, like it, comment. You know, there's links in there if you want to donate something to I think there's a Patreon. Do you have a Patreon or?
No, I have a PayPal link if you want to buy Charlie.
Yeah, there's a PayPal, you know, if you want to send a couple bucks so Charlie can get dog treats next week, go for it. My store is there. Go to Metal Sludge, go to the store, buy some stuff. Of course, I always sign and add some extra goodies. And at some point, you know, me and Anthony talked about this. He was working with a merch company, but it was kind of a weird deal. But we're gonna at some point he's gonna get some Guru merchandise going, and we'll have some other options for you guys as well. So by all means, thank you for everything. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out. And we got a lot of cool interviews coming up for Anthony with the channel and all the roundtable guys. Shout out to all your guys that you do all your different stuff with, and I'm part of the family now too with the lives, and I'll pop on at some point as well with some of the other stuff.
Hey, Stevie, thank you so much it was a great first episode. Everybody, thanks for dealing with my little technology glitches. I will try to have them fixed by next week. We had around 350 people here tonight. Amazing. All the people, well, everybody that here, thank to the people who did super chats. We don't expect it, but man, it really does mean a lot. So that is awesome. Please tell people about the show. Spread the word. Let's see if we can grow this thing even bigger. And, you know, this was the first run. So I only expect us to get better and to kind of figure out how we're doing this after the first night. But I thought for the first show, this was awesome. I had a blast. I can't believe the 2 hours are already done. So thank you. And we will be seeing you guys next week. And I will finish it off by doing this. Take care. Make sure you share. We'll see you next time.